What's going on, Internet? Welcome back to the EDC Gear Guide channel. And we have quite possibly my favorite battle knife, or I guess that's what you'd call it, self-defense slash battle knife, that has ever been made by Cold Steel. And as you know, I'm a huge Cold Steel fan. I know a lot about Cold Steel products. And this is the Magnum Tanto 12. And I have 3 different versions of it. All of them very special in my opinion. So the Magnum Tanto, it's obviously a large fixed blade. It's in that iconic American Tanto series that's known for its, reinforced Tanto style blade point. It's really designed for piercing and slashing. Like I said, this is a battle knife, self-defense knife. And it really represents Cold Steel's emphasis on, durable, battle-ready edged tools inspired by, designs from around the world and that kind of thing. This knife is incredible, and Cold Steel doesn't F around. Everybody calls their stuff Mall Ninja. Call it what you want, but this stuff is battle ready. A lot of their knives are. So real quick, the company's founded in 1980 by Lynn Thompson. His first Tanto was introduced in 81. So right away, he invented what we know now as a Tanto, but is actually the American Tanto. And it was a 5 3/4 inch blade knife that was made in Japan in Seke City. Originally, materials were like 420, 400 series stainless steels. And then when AUS 8 came out, he upgraded to that. You're talking brass and stainless fittings and all that, micarta, or Kraton handles, plastic. Oh no, Kraton, I'm sorry, this is Kraton. It's not a plastic, it's a very rubbery kind of super durable material. So by the mid-80s, they'd introduced a bunch of different Tantos. The Master Tanto, they started making them in San Mai. And eventually, the Magnum Tanto was launched in like the mid-80s. I guess it was like sometime in the mid to late 80s, if I remember correctly. And it was an 8 3/4 inch blade with like the full Suba style oval guard like you see on these. Raised spine for thumb control. And the materials were, at the time, you could get it in like a 400 series stainless steel or San Mai 2 blade, which was, I believe, VG1 San Mai. So, the blade length was 8 3/4, and the original Master Tanto, the thickness 3/16 of an inch, and it was an overall 14-inch knife. They all came originally with this black leather sheath that you see here, except they didn't have a button. They had a Velcro strap, and you will find out that this sheath, which is an original, is about as rare as you can get. So the Tanto 2 was introduced in 1990, and that was upgraded to the San Mai 3 blade by 1994. So in 1998, they launched the Magnum Tanto 12, which is what you're looking at. It was alongside the Magnum Tanto 9, which was a 9-inch blade. It was in response for demand for larger blades at the time. So the initial production was made in Japan, exclusive San Mai 3 construction with VG1 high carbon core and whatever they used, probably a 420 outer shell, something like that, which they just called VG1 San Mai 3. The design is an extended Tanto profile for, good reach, ambidextrous oval guard, just ergonomic. So let's take a peek. This is your modern, made out of 3V steel. And yes, it is a 12-inch blade. And yes, it does have oil all over it. I do keep it kind of oiled. But there you go. Well, now that I'm looking at it, I guess it's not a 12-inch blade, is it? It is an 11.5-inch blade, but they call it a 12. Very interesting. I didn't know that. Glad I checked. So anyway, they say the blade length is 12 inches. A lot of companies do that. They bullshit about their blade lengths. The handle length, they say, is 5 5/8. Yeah, I guess almost. 5 9/16. So it's about a 16th off there. And Cold Steel is notorious for that. Anyway, they made a couple different ones over the years. It was discontinued. And they came out with, they discontinued it in, I think, 2011. And then they recontinued it recently. 20... no, they introduced it in 2014. And that's when they came out with, I think that was when they came out with this, the black bladed. This is called the Nightfall series. These are super freaking rare. Oh, how awesome is this sheath? I made this. Now, as you can see, very homemade looking. I had to dig out this because look how thick the leather is on this thing. They're crazy thick. I bought the thickest leather. It was 9 mil or something. And, but I built this whole thing from just rawhide leather. Really love this. This is my battle sheath. This is here, if I have to grab a knife and take on a bunch of ruffians outside, I would grab this. Lightweight, 14.5 ounces, I believe. Let me go grab my scale. It should be next to me, but it's not. Because I have nothing but the highest production value. Always here on the EDC Gear Guide channel. So, anyway, let's see what we got here. We'll do it in grams for all you non-Americans first. 392 grams. If we switch that, yeah, it's supposed to be 14 point something, but apparently not. 13 3/4. Let's see if there's a difference. This Nightfall series is made in 3V steel, and this is pre-GSM. I want to say, yeah, see CPM 3V. I want to say it was 2014, but I don't think they were using 3V in 2014. It's probably more like 2018. The new model, also 3V, this is made by the new Cold Steel, as you can see by their new label there, is lighter by a 1/2 ounce, which, I'll be honest, I kind of like that. As lighter is better. So, we talked about when it came out in 1998. So this one is an actual prototype that Lynn would have had ordered. Lynn Thompson, the owner of Cold Steel. I guess their board of directors. This is made in Japan by the Hattori. I believe it's the Hattori company who made most of their, Tanto type knives all through the 90s. And I even think the early 2000s. And this also has oil on it, but as you can see is unmarked. This I bought this from Lynn, from his actual collection, and it is the only one in existence that I know of. I did talk to somebody that swears they got one from a pawn shop with the really beat up version of this. But they never made this sheath with the button snap. They decided to go with Velcro. I guess it was cheaper or easier, or they didn't want to have to do this because, they had to do a felt backing, keep it from, not that it's going to scratch the craton, but this, made by Hattori Knife Company in Japan, is made with AUS 8. So they never came out in AUS 8 that I'm aware of, just these. And you never know how many of these would be in existence. The Cold Steel Company, I've talked to some people that are pretty in the know, and I've heard that when they make a prototype, it could be anywhere from 2 to a dozen different blades. As far as I know, this is pretty much one of a kind, brand new, unused. With the sheath itself is also a prototype. You can see the sheath is made in Japan as well. The sheath is also a prototype. So this would have been ordered. They would have got a couple of these probably from Hattori, and everybody would have sat at the table and played with it, looked at it, and messed around with the sheath and decided whether or not they were going to produce this product. So this reasonably was probably made in the mid-90s. And like I said, made from AUS 8, which is not done anymore. Let's see what this thing weighs. See how different it is. All right, so this is the heaviest one. 14 and a quarter. So it's a half ounce heavier than the Nightfall series. And you know what's funny? It feels more than a half ounce heavier. This one feels heavy. What we got here for thickness? I'm going to say that's real close. But this is clearly a little thicker on the spine. I don't know if you guys can see that. That looks that looks about the same. It's so hard to tell, man. How about the tips? I mean, they really kept it. This one is apparently not hollow ground either. Huh. Look at the hollow grind on the newer model, as well as the Nightfall series. This prototype, which is clearly why it weighs more, is not hollow ground. And it is, sharp. This thing could cut your freaking hand off in like easy in one swipe. Anyway, really sweet knife. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. It really doesn't. So anyway, let's see what else about this. So I got some notes here. All right, so it was discontinued in 2011. That was the end of the Japanese production in 2014. They relocated it to Taiwan, which is, I'm assuming, much cheaper, and they started making them in Taiwan. The VG10 model came out in 2014, which I don't have here. I really want one, but it's kind of like, how many Magnum Tanto 12s do you need in life? So if I ever come across one that's a real good deal, Lynn does have one from his private collection for sale, but it's a little expensive, and I get it. It's Lynn's. It's a real collector's item. But I mean, look at the difference in like the finish. Look at the blade edge on this thing. It is polished. You can see all the grind marks on the new one. Yeah. I'll take this Japanese one any day. That's just me. So currently it's made in Japan, in Taiwan, and it's still made in the VG10, or you get it in CPM 3V steel, which, if you don't know 3V, that's these two. 3V's you could chop trees down with these if you really wanted to, and it wouldn't jack the blade up too bad. It's very tough steel, very springy type steel, whereas AUS 8, not so much. But when this was made, when AUS 8 first came out in the 80s, it was the best steel in history at the time. So it goes to show you how far we've come. So yeah, and that's pretty much, that's pretty much where we're at now, 3V version. And again, like I said, this is not a camp knife. This is not a Bowie knife. This is not a kitchen knife. This is a knife for cutting off limbs and plunging blades clean through somebody's body till they come out the other side. So it embodies that whole cold steel, test to destruction philosophy. If you remember those videos, I'm old enough to remember them from when I was a kid. It's the collectability on these is anything pre-2011 commands a really high premium, especially like serial numbered editions from like 98 to 2000. Really highly sought after. They'll generally run $500-600. This prototype, made even before then, with no markings, I couldn't tell you what its value is. Even more, I would imagine. And Lynn only had one. In fact, I have his COA here for it. And there's a little sticky on there, and it says whatever that his inventory number is, and then quantity 1. So he only had one of these. It makes me wonder. There is a guy that's been selling on eBay who's in Japan, who has been selling prototype knives from Cold Steel that were made by Hattori. I hope I'm saying that. I hope that's the name. I think it's Hattori, the company in Japan. I'm assuming that he did work for them or knows somebody that did work for them, and they kept a version of each one for themselves as well. But Lynn only kept this one, which tells me that it's probably the only one in existence. So I couldn't begin to tell you what it's worth. It's pretty much priceless and like extremely collectible. That being said, I am considering selling it. If I do, I'll probably put it on eBay. It's probably going to be a little too rich for most people on eBay, but I don't know. We'll see. And yes, I do. Kaztak LLC, all one word, is I sell a lot of my knives there. So I'm really strongly considering put on there because I already have some, and I mean, I have so many collectible knives. It's going to really hurt me to sell it because, God, that thing's awesome. So the modern use for these things, let's go over, what is the RLA, real life application of these knives. I said it and I'll say it again. It's just for killing people, killing and or injuring people. This would be a really good knife if you have like a SHTF, vest set up, plate carrier set up like I do. This would be a really sweet knife to attach to your plate carrier. You could use the Secure X and just molly it right to it. And I would not feel underarmed in the knife department with one of these. So first and foremost, this is a knife for delimbing intruders that come in your house or taking into war, or, when you decide to finally just become an actual real ninja, be a good knife to carry. I suppose I would probably carry this one just for the lack of glare with the black. These also, very collectible. They didn't make them for that long, and they didn't make too many of them. And you can find them around. I never see the 12-inch one. I never see the 12. I only see the smaller versions available once in a while, very rarely on eBay. So this is extremely valuable too as a collector's item. But anyway, back to the real life applications. That's it. I mean, that's your real life app. Could you take this camping? You could take anything. You could take butcher knife camping, and you know what? I mean, would this cut up meat and stuff? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to skin animals real well with it. Tantos aren't good for that. I guess if you took it with you as a self-defense kind of blade, sure. I mean, if that's all it's going to be used for, I wouldn't recommend trying to chop with these or, split wood or any of that kind of shit, because these are, they're tough, especially the 3V, but they're just too lightweight. And I guess, this one would probably work real well with that flat grind. Yeah. I guess you could split with it, but no, you wouldn't want to do that. These aren't the kind of knives you want to like pound on. You save these knives for self-defense. Any other uses? Home defense. You live in a place where you can't have guns. I guess you can always have guns in your home, but let's say you just can't afford a gun, but for some reason you can drop $250 for, one of these. Even though you can find guns for $250. But yeah, this would work. I mean, like I said, you could delimb intruders that come in your house pretty effectively. They come absolute ridiculous razor sharp, like pretty much all Cold Steel stuff does. And you know what is this? No, it's not a hollow grind. Is it? Look at the tit. That's how you tell. You see this? I keep getting sidetracked. See this curve here in the grind? I'm just not seeing it. Maybe they flat grind it here and bring it back. It feels like it's a little bit of a hollow grind. But I think it might not be. It might be flat like this, or like this one here. They might have not made these hollow ground until recently. Huh. I'm just noticing things now. I apologize. What are the pros and cons of this knife? The pros are everything that I've been saying. It's awesome. It's big. It gives you reach. It has the Craton handle, which is the grippiest shit pretty much you can get. And this is from I have Kraton handles from like the late 80s that are still perfectly fine and functional. And they don't like, rubber rots over time. These don't really rot. I don't know what they do to make the stuff so stable, but it is. What else? It's gorgeous. It's fun to fondle. I'm not a big fan. Let me take that back. I like Securex sheaths. I just don't like that they put fiberglass in them. I realize it makes the sheath tougher, but when you drag your blade in and out of the sheath, it dulls it. Hence why I made this monster sheath for mine, because I didn't want that to happen. I think they should have just stuck with this. I get it. They do it for, cost reasons, but look how nice that is, man. In the future, if anybody from Cold Steel is listening, I realize you're probably not, but if you can at least make an option of a leather sheath, that would be really cool. Charge more money for it, whatever. I would pay for it. So yeah, collectability on these is another pro. They are just collectible. The old ones, you can resell them. You get a deal. I got this one for $160. You can't find these for less than like $205 now on Amazon, which is always the cheapest for this kind of thing. They're good investments, is my point. A lot of pros. Cons. There's really no cons. Like I said, maybe the Securex sheath dulling your blades over time, but you can sort of avoid that by just pushing the spine down when you sheath it so that the blade doesn't rub on this part, on the inside of that. They lock in really, really well. And you actually have to, if you don't push on this thumb push, they won't come out. Like, another pro. If you have kids in the house and if you put it in the Securex sheath, that's kind of cool. Like, little kids, they're not going to be able to get it out. They're probably not going to be able to figure it out. Just, I like safety. I have small children. The cons, the price is amazing. I'd like to say they're expensive, but for what you get, can you bitch about paying $200 for a knife like this? No. How much, I say this every video, I know, but I'm going to say it again. How much would Spyderco charge if they ever made such a thing as this? This would be like $800. If Benchmade made this knife, it would be $1,000. And I'm right, in these materials. If they made it in VG10, they would charge $600. So yeah, if you're grabbing this knife for between $200 and $250, dude, is it worth it? Yeah, it's definitely worth what you pay for this knife. Not to mention, like I said, it's just going to get more expensive and go up in value because people are beginning to realize that about all cold steel knives, for that matter. It remains a popular knife, mostly for collectors. It is praised. I see every video I've ever seen says the same thing. The balance is just excellent on this blade. You have a full guard, oval guard all the way around. So, and this incredibly grippy material, so you're not going to slip up and cut your own fingers off if you're stabbing somebody. You've got a crazy thick Tanto tip that is probably the best tip for stabbing in existence. It'll just break right through ribs and crush through bones and all that kind of stuff. It just has a really appealing balance and beauty that you just don't see. And it's big. I'm glad to see a lot of companies are starting to come out with big knives again, like Cold Steel has always done. So yeah, this is the last question. Should you buy one of these? Obviously, yes, you should buy one of these. Should you get VG10 or 3V? Honestly, they're pretty close in price. So I'm going to go with 3V, obviously, because that's what I did. Just for toughness, in case I got to try and hack somebody's head off with this thing and I want it snapping. But they're going to use a really good outer core steel, and their VG10 inner core of their San Mai is, honestly, VG10 would be easier to sharpen and you wouldn't have to worry about oiling it like I have to do with this one, because 3V, where it's not like carbon steel, it's not stainless, it's kind of somewhere in between. It doesn't really rust as much as it patinas. Some people like that though. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. Just, wrap this in a towel covered in vinegar and let it sit for an hour. You'd probably get a cool look out of this knife too. But it's just so beautiful the way it is. Why would you F with it? You know what I mean? I love this knife. This is actually, this one is the one I keep most of the time next to my bed at night. I keep a firearm in like a quick safe as well, but I usually keep this too. And just in case, I'd probably stuff this in my underwear waistband and grab my gun and head out when I hear bumps in the night. So yeah, awesome blade. Yes, you should buy one. Really no cons to this knife. All pros. Oh, it's not a full tang. It is. It's a full tang. It's just not a full thickness of tang. It's not, I've seen people take them apart. It's not really a rat tail tang in the sense of a normal rat tail, but it kind of is. And this is a screw-on. I guess put red Loctite on it, and they screw this down until it's tight. Dude, it's not going anywhere. And again, you're not chopping wood with this unless you're a dipshit. You're using this to dispatch bad guys. And the tang is going to be plenty strong for dispatching bad guys. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. Thank you. Get you one of these. Awesome knife. I know it's been a while since I made a video. I apologize. I have some videos in the works coming up. I promise. Make sure you subscribe, because this is the kind of cool stuff that you will find on this channel. And we will see you next time. EDC Gear Guy out.